The unexplained disappearance of Flight 19 into the Bermuda Triangle. 5 planes, 14 men, a routine training flight on a perfect afternoon. They took off from Fort Lauderdale and vanished into thin air, sparking a massive sea and air rescue. Then, a rescue plane vanished too. Sound. Piano note dips lower, a faint, distorted radio signal drifts in. No wreckage, no bodies, no distress calls that made any sense. This is the story of Flight 19, the disappearance that gave the Bermuda Triangle its name and its enduring, terrifying legend. The date was December 5th, 1945. The world was at peace, and the U.S. Navy was training a new generation of pilots at the Fort Lauderdale Naval Air Station in Florida. Flight 19 was a standard overwater navigation exercise. 5 TBM Avenger bombers, heavy, reliable aircraft nicknamed Iron Birds, would be led by an experienced flight instructor, Lieutenant Charles Taylor. Taylor had over 2,500 flight hours. His students, 4 Marine captains, and a handful of enlisted crewmen. They were not rookies. Sound. The music fades, replaced by the loud, rhythmic thrum of a single radial engine starting up. Their mission was simple: fly a triangular route east, north, then back west to base. A 3-hour hop over the Atlantic. They called it Navigation Problem Number 1. At 2:10 p.m., with clear skies and calm seas, the 5 Avengers roared down the runway and disappeared into the brilliant blue afternoon. They were scheduled to return at 5 p.m. They had more than enough fuel. The first hint of trouble came late. At 3:40 p.m., nearly 2 hours into the flight, a confused message crackled over the radio at Fort Lauderdale. Sound, radio static, then a filtered, distant voice, actor for Lieutenant Taylor. Control, this is FT-28 Lieutenant Taylor. I seem to have lost my bearing. I cannot see land. I repeat, I cannot see land. Narrator. The tower responded, asking for his position. Sound, radio static, more urgent. Taylor, filtered. I don't know where we are. We must have gotten lost after that last turn. Narrator. The controller told Taylor to fly west, toward the setting sun. But Taylor was convinced. Sound, radio static, confusion in the voice. Taylor, filtered. We are heading 270 degrees west, but we should have reached land by now. Everything is wrong, strange. The ocean doesn't look as it should. Music returns, a single, repeating, high-tension violin note. Visuals. The map zooms out, show Flight 19's probable, confused path drifting northeast, away from Florida into the open Atlantic. Narrator. For the next hour, the radio transmissions grew more desperate and bizarre. The pilots argued among themselves. Compasses were spinning. They were over broken land or small islands that didn't exist on any chart. One student pilot was heard clearly. Sound, a younger, calmer, filtered voice. If we'd just fly west, we'd get home. But Taylor was now convinced they were over the Florida Keys, hundreds of miles to the southwest. He ordered the flight to turn east, believing they'd find the mainland. Sound, the violin note is joined by a deep, ominous cello. With that decision, he led his 5 planes and 14 men directly into the vast, empty heart of the Atlantic and into history. As darkness fell, the Navy launched a full-scale search. One of the first responders was a TBM Mariner, a giant flying boat specifically designed for rescue. It took off from the Banana River base at 7:27 p.m., carrying a crew of 13. It radioed its position just after 7:30. Sound, a loud, distorted pop or whomp sound, followed by returning radio static. It was never heard from again. A merchant ship, the SS Gaines Mills, reported seeing a tremendous burst of flame in the sky at that exact time and location. And then, nothing. Sound. The static fades to the sound of wind and waves. No mayday, no wreckage. The Mariner and its 13 crewmen had simply ceased to exist. Now, 6 planes and 27 men were missing. The largest peacetime search in naval history began. Over 250 ships and aircraft scoured 200,000 square miles of ocean for 5 days. They found nothing. Not a life raft, not an oil slick, not a single piece of floating debris from 6 large aircraft. The official Navy report concluded, cause unknown. But the theories began almost immediately. Sound. A sharp, clean sting marks the start of each theory. Music changes subtly for each. Theory 1. Pilot error and panic. Visuals. A spinning compass graphic. A map showing Taylor's mistaken belief. This is the most accepted explanation. Lieutenant Taylor, though experienced, had a history of getting lost. He'd forgotten his watch and his primary compass. When his backup compasses failed, possibly due to a known issue with the Avengers in that area, he became disoriented. In his panic, he led the flight out to sea until they ran out of fuel. The TBM Mariner, it famously had a tendency to leak fuel vapor. A single spark could have caused a catastrophic mid-air explosion. Theory 2. Electromagnetic anomalies. Visuals. Animated lines of magnetic force distorting around a globe. The Bermuda Triangle is one of only 2 places on Earth where true north and magnetic north align. This can cause navigational chaos. Some propose electronic fog or rogue magnetic pulses that scramble instruments and induce confusion, exactly what the pilots described. Theory 3. Methane hydrate eruption. Visuals. Animated bubbles erupting from the seafloor, decreasing water density. Vast pockets of methane gas trapped under the seabed can erupt. This would turn the ocean into a frothing, less dense soup. A plane hitting this gas cloud could lose engine power. A ship passing over it could lose buoyancy and sink in minutes, leaving no trace. Theory 4. The supernatural angle. Visuals. A dark, swirling vortex animation over the ocean. Fade to a speculative UFO silhouette. From time warps and alien abductions to the lost city of Atlantis firing its ancient crystals, this is where legend takes over. The pilots' reports of a strange ocean and white water have fueled these stories for decades. Music resolves back to a single, contemplative tone. The Navy closed the case, attributing it to causes or reasons unknown. Lieutenant Taylor's mother refused to accept her son was at fault. She fought until the Navy changed the record to read "lost due to unknown causes." But the true legacy of Flight 19 is not in a report. It's in the name it helped create, the Bermuda Triangle. Sound. The melancholic ocean waves return, mixed with a faint, ghostly echo of a 1940s radio signal. This one, perfectly documented, utterly inexplicable event became the cornerstone for 1,000 more stories. It proved that in our modern mapped world, a group of men in 5 giant metal planes could still vanish without a trace. We have rational answers. We have scientific theories. Yet, the central mystery remains. Where did the wreckage go? In a search that vast, how does everything, from 6 aircraft, simply disappear? So, what do you believe happened to Flight 19? A tragic cascade of human error and bad luck? Or did they fly into something stranger? A phenomenon we still don't understand, hidden in that patch of blue we call the Bermuda Triangle. Let me know your theory in the comments. The conversation is what keeps history alive. If you want to join us as we untangle more of the world's greatest enigmas, subscribe to Mystery Gist TV and hit the bell icon. Next week, we're investigating the chilling phenomenon of the Slender Man myth, from creepypasta to real-world tragedy. Until then, stay curious and remember, not all maps show everything that's out there.